Surprise.
Hi, everyone. Can they hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I will introduce since we've
Yeah.
been here together. So you guys welcome those who are here live and able to join. Thank you for being here. I'm Kay Moon, a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and I am joined today by special guest Dark Skin Tarot. Definitely check out her YouTube channel and subscribe. Initially, we were going to go live on her channel, but now for whatever reason, we couldn't get the tech to work out. So, here we are on my channel with the Venus retrograde update that we had anticipated doing over there. We're just going to do it over here for you guys. So I'm going to share a link to her channel there in the comments so you can get to know her. She's an extraordinary reader. She specializes in timeless messages and what you need to hear right now. She both does tarot and oracle, and she also offers private readings. So you can check her out. Hey, Joshua Beanie. Hey, Mel C. Welcome. There's the link to her channel in the YouTube comments. And what we're going to get up to today is a conversation about the upcoming Venus retrograde and what to expect with this Venus retrograde. I'm going to talk you through some of the astrology aspects, and our special guest is going to talk you through some aspects that have to do with the tarot. She's going to pull some cards, add some additional messages. And I thought it would just be fun to give you the energy that was, both things at the same time so that we could get like a comprehensive message. Does that sound fun to you guys? Let me know there in the chat if that sounds interesting. You can also ask questions during this live. If you've got any questions about what I'm sharing, about what she's sharing, feel free to just drop them there in the chat and we'll be answering questions as we go. Really excited to do this. Michelle, thank you for being here. It's a treat to be able to work with you. Um, oh, perfect. There you are, Dark Skin Tarot, there in the chat. And happy
Yes.
25. Awesome. Okay, let me just change the view. Martha says, sounds awesome. Happy 2025, Kylie. Want to change the way we can see this so that it is, yeah, there. Okay. See the view. See if multi-speaker view does it. So I want people to be able to see the chart, but also see your beautiful desktop setup for us. Hi, Saturn. Welcome. Okay, so that didn't do it. Let me just see. Gallery view does it. Not sure. Okay, we're going to come back to the chart then and start there. Okay, cool. There we go. Awesome. All right, so my love, and for all of our listeners, I love, okay, good. So more people have joined. Okay, that's perfect. Hey, Kira McGarren, great to see you. Awesome to have you guys here for this impromptu and pop up about Venus retrograde. So I'm going to go ahead and get started there. So here are the dates I want to make sure you guys know. Please write these down. I'm going to give you guys this overview. So the Venus retrograde energy, Venus goes into shadow, and there's Venus in Pisces on January 28th. Venus, as many of you all know, is representative of all the things that we value. She's magnetism, she's attraction, she's also chemistry. But in terms of things we value, specifically in our lives, she's come to represent love and money in our modern day lives. And so when Venus goes retrogrades, and when any planet goes retrograde, we get an opportunity to review themes that that planet represents. Venus in particular, we're getting an opportunity to review anything having to do with love, connection, relationship, money, resources, the way we're spending or earning. But then Venus also governs and deals with everything related to beauty as well. Beauty treatments, some of the self care that we do, the way we self love. We get the opportunity to revisit, redo, renegotiate in some circumstances, things that have to do with all things Venusian. Now, depending in your personal chart, where this Venus retrograde takes place, um, that's going to be part of where this review happens. So for all of us, if you know your chart, definitely double check it. We have Aries and Pisces. This is where the Venus retrograde will take place. We start at the 24th degree of Pisces on January 28th. This is when Venus enters what we call the retrograde zone. So this is the beginning of when we'll start to see themes that Venus retrograde is going to bring into our lives. And it's going to be inside of Pisces for the last 6 degrees, and then it'll move into the sign of Aries. Venus stops and actually turns fully retrograde a little bit later. Let me give you that exact date. So guys, definitely write these dates down for yourself because you will be able to notice things as we move through the dates. Venus will turn retrograde on March 1st. So let's pull that date up so you can see that. 3, 1. And now we see Venus at the 10th degree of Aries right here. So Venus will go from the 24th degree of Pisces to the 10th degree of Aries, and then begin to go backwards to that 24th degree of Pisces, and then Venus will turn forward again. So March 1st through April 12th, this is when we start to do the work of our Venus retrograde. That's the actual retrograde. So the themes will show up between January 28th and March 1st. March 1st through April 12th. This is when the work will happen. We'll start to see the issue show itself in no uncertain terms in our life. And then Venus goes into what we call the post shadow. The post retrograde shadow is when Venus stops being retrograde and she'll turn forward again. When she turns forward again here, it will be April 12th through May 16th. The post shadow is when the themes of the retrograde finally start to get resolved. So we have the pre-shadow, January 28th through March 1st. This is when themes will appear. Then we have the retrograde, March 1st through April 12th. This is when what needs work will be called and guided to work on it. And then we have the resolution. That's April 12th through May 16th. So as you can see, this is an extended period of time. It basically covers all of March, all of April, and the first half of May, where we'll be dealing with this Venus retrograde energy. Now, some of you may have already heard Venus retrograde is a time that's notorious for bringing exes back, having people that you used to be connected to start to reach out and get in contact. Some of you may have, we're only January 28th, 16 days away. Some of you have already started to have that happen for you, where you've had people begin to reach out. Definitely let us know there in the comment section if that's an experience you've had. Also, you may have also found that at times you're guided during Venus retrograde where you have unfinished business with another person, where you are still feeling like, okay, me and this person, it's not over. I still hold a candle for them in my heart, or the door is not really shut. I wonder if they still feel something for me. You may be guided to reach out during this Venus retrograde, specifically because Venus will, in part, for part of the retrograde, be in Aries. Aries is the sign of taking initiative, taking action. And so Venus in Aries can be a bit more active, taking more initiative rather than kind of being in receptivity mode. And so there is, for some of you, you may find that some peeps come back. And so Joe says, yep, someone has already come back in the comments. I see that there. Kylie says, I've already seen someone in a relationship. The other thing that can happen relationship wise and is quite common during a Venus retrograde is you can see if you are in a relationship during the retrograde, you get the opportunity to do some review in the relationship. You get the opportunity to um, ask some questions about the relationship to see if the relationship is meeting both people's needs, if the values that both people have are the same, if both people are on the same page. You get the opportunity to see that during a Venus retrograde. And so it may feel like there are hiccups, so to speak, in a Venus retrograde. That's not always the case, but it's a chance to review. And then simultaneously, if you're single, this is where you get the opportunity to sometimes see where can I clean things up in my own
Mm,
self so that I can be ready for more love down the road. Now, these are just the love themes. We haven't even spoken
mm.
yet about the money themes. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to pause here and check in with our special guest, Dark Skin Tarot. What you got? What are you seeing here?
So can you see my cards? Can you see, are they showing up?
Yep.
Yeah, you guys can see it? So I'm so excited like a child. Okay, listen. While you're reading, so when I do readings, sometimes as I'm talking, I let the cards come out. I don't always just ask the question, let the cards tell me. It becomes part of the story and the cards kind of pull from the energy. So Kay, while you were talking, um, I was pulling the cards as if I was the one doing the talking. And so one of the first cards that came out was the Ten of Cups in reverse, which speaks to Venus going back into her shadow, going into that retrograde thing, because Ten of Cups is happiness, it's joy, it's fulfillment, it's alignment, it's everything that you wanted coming to pass. But Venus having to do with what you said, love, communication, beauty, joy, some sensuality. People will find that they're in a place where they are reviewing that. And that is affirmed by that Nine of Wands. So this was the first area that you spoke to, being Venus and Pisces in January 28th and being in the 24th degree. And then this second card here from March 1st to the 12th, you said that it's when we start doing the, and before you said work, this popped out, right? And so you can see that this lady is having some level of grief, whether she is a mother that's on her own, it could be work, it could be difficulty in communication, it could be taking on other people's stress or responsibilities that aren't yours. But this is a period in time where people are reviewing. I know retrograde often gets like a negative connotation, like, oh God, it's Mercury retrograde and everything's going to go wrong. But it really depends on your perspective, right? I like to think of it as like when Kay and I were preparing for this, I was saying like she's, what did I say? You're earthy and I'm cardy or something like that, like you're astro. And
Yeah.
what retrogrades allow you to do is to move, let's say, from the position I'm in now, like earth touching cards, right? To where Kay is having a grander perspective of things and seeing things from new heights or new elevations, or because you have a wider view, you're now able to see how things fit together, or you're seeing things that you didn't necessarily notice from before, right? By the way, I talk a lot with my hands. I'm standing. Okay. Just so you guys know, in case it's distracting. But this is how I feel things. So near the end of that, you talked about, I think, coming, I want to say post shadow. I think you said April to about May. And then after that, the sun came out. Like it allows you to now move forward in a way that is more fulfilling and more aligned for you. Because there are times where we have to take a moment and step back from things, right? And consider, like, is this right for us? So when you move to talking about during the Venus retrograde, it might be a time where ex-lovers come back. Heck, you might even have an old employer asking you to return to the job or to come in for a contract basis. So the cards that came out were mischances, main attraction, forgive and heal, and butterflies. So what I did was, for the person that is on this vein, meaning, you're thinking about what could have been, what should have been, why wasn't it? Like, what would I do if there was another opportunity? You've got that other opportunity likely coming back to you. The question is, what are you going to do with what you learned up here with it? Are you going to go back? Are you going to do things differently? Do you need to go around, the merry-go-round one more time for whatever reason? Is it because you didn't learn the lesson? Is it because you want it one more time and you're done? Is it because it's going to turn out well for you? You both have taken the time to grow and mature. And it's also a period where it's going to tell you about yourself. So oftentimes we look outside, like, what does that mean for that person? Or we're looking to see some kind of justice or something coming in, but it's also a period of growth, right? It's a time for you to kind of uh, reconstitute yourself and get things in line so that when you come out again, you're stronger, you're better, you're wiser. So some of you might have to work on forgiving somebody. Sometimes forgiveness is a block. Understand, forgiveness is not ever for the other person, is for you. It is so that you don't wither in one position. Okay. For those of you that are going to reconnect with, be it an individual, a job, what have you, um, it says here that there's going to be some butterflies. It might be overwhelming, it could be blissful, but you need to keep in mind what you've been through. So there's two tracks here, I feel. This track is for the people that decide that they're going to return to whoever this person is. Be aware of some control issues that might come into play. You might actually get with a soulmate, which is different from someone who is your divine union. I don't want to dig too much into that. I'm assuming that if you're following Kay, you understand what this means. Is that fair, Kay? Can I kind of leave it at that for this part?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
good.
I expect that we're talking to a sophisticated audience. Like that's my expectation. So for those of you that are going down this vein where you're thinking of returning, you're taking them back, you want to make things better, look out for control issues. And it could be that you either move towards a soulmate or a divine union. And then near the end of what you were saying, these three cards fell out. I didn't turn them over. I I don't know. I suspect that this might be for the people that decide not to return, but and I hate kind of doing this because sometimes we can be off, but you live once. So let's see. Okay. So there's the moon. So there's something hidden, not known. There is the King of Swords. For me, I read this as a recognition of the truth and reconciling with the truth of whatever the situation is. And then this Eight of Cups. Wow. Hmm. Some of you aren't going to return. Some of you are going to see it what it is during this retrograde. You're going to get that high perspective. You're going to look at and analyze your life and decide that this person, this union is not for you. And you're going to find greener pasture somewhere else. And this is something that will be revealed to you because some of you don't know it. Some of you think you want this. And once you get back into it, you're going to realize this is not for me anymore. Okay, Kay, you can take over. Sorry. I'm going back to my quiet self. When I read, I'm very excited. And then once I'm done, I'm like, yeah.
Oh, you did beautifully. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the intel, the insight, the added information. And you really touched on some wonderful themes that I think are important for us to, um, kind of like look at and talk about here, especially because This Venus retrograde, um, we will see, let's see, there, that's how I want to do this. This Venus retrograde, we will see Venus connect with and speak to Neptune 3 different times. And when it comes to that theme around forgiveness, where's that forgiveness card that you brought up?
It is right here, forgive and heal.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll just read it. It says, as you forgive and heal, your love life becomes brighter and healthier. And it's not necessarily because you're with that person, it's that you are pouring into yourself, right?
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. It really speaks to the way that what we have going on is an opportunity for um for growth, for connection. I think somebody mentioned Kylie in the comments, we love the growth. It's an opportunity to get into the space of releasing, and that's what Neptune's energy does. It washes away, it dissolves, it releases. And so this particular Venus retrograde is quite common in Venus retrogrades as well. Um, some people who are in a bond can break up during a Venus retrograde because they realize the values aren't on the same page, or the glue is in 2 different places. One person's more attached than the other. But then after Venus retrograde, they look at what the issue was during the retrograde, then they are able to talk it through. Once Venus goes direct, they can do some of that forgiveness work and then come back together. Quite often, the opposite can happen too. People who would not normally be together can come together under a Venus retrograde, explore the option, the opportunity, see if there's anything deeper there. And then as soon as Venus goes direct, they're like, oh, I just came together with this person to learn certain things during the retrograde that I now recognize I value, but want in a different package or to render in a different way. So, because we'll have this connection to Neptune over the course of the Venus retrograde, forgiveness is absolutely one of the key themes that we're going to be working with. The Neptune is at the tail end of Pisces, headed into Aries. Venus will go back and forth between Aries and Pisces. For some, this is going to be self-forgiveness. For others, this will be forgiveness of the divine, where you felt like maybe God had it out for you. God wasn't looking out for you. God didn't have your back. The universe is constantly giving you, crap to eat, shit sandwiches, right? If that's the case, some of this may even be your opportunity to reconcile with the divine and really release and see how some of the things that have happened have actually been for your benefit and growth, and to come back into a place of feeling like, okay, I'm one with God, the universe, however you call it. Do you have some other insights here, Michelle?
Well, when you were talking, out came the justice card, and that literally stopped me in my tracks. Because this is about, on some level, when you learn to forgive and heal, you're bringing in your own justice, right? Um, Oftentimes, if someone does us something wrong, we want to see, them get their just desserts. Or when we hear like something went not that great for, let's say, our divine masculine, because I'm assuming the majority of people here are women, right? Um, we're like, oh, I knew that would happen. But it's really a time for us to move away from looking to see what happens to them, because we actually do have the power to, I think, activate, magnify, rotate, put in motion our own wheel of fortune. Which part of that is justice? So, for example, if you took the time to work on yourself, read, learn, get counseling, move away from addictive behaviors or things that don't serve you. By doing that, you are taking the steps necessary to bring in what it is that you need to move forward, and therefore bringing in your own justice. If you've done nothing, if you wallow in it too long, right? A little wallowing is allowed. Let's be real. But if you wallow in it for too long, then you get stuck, then you get stagnant, and you get more of what you've been doing. So the message is twofold. The justice that is coming in, whatever it is, it's deserved. So if you made the necessary moves, improved your thinking, your mindset, your growth opportunities, you're going to get more of that. And that's going to continue to propel you. But if you've done the opposite, I don't know, I would say just change. All I heard in my mind was a deep, deep, deep dark night of the soul is coming. If you don't, and maybe you need it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it because it is a part of the journey. But sometimes we actually can halt, reverse, or stop the tower if we take the necessary steps.
Love it. Really beautiful. When well said. Thank you for sharing that. I want to share a couple of other planetary contacts that Venus will make over the course of her retrograde, starting with the kickoff, and then we'll talk about the work parts. We'll get into that.
Oh, I've got a deck for that.
Oh, perfect. Bring it out. Awesome. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here's Venus on the day she turns retrograde, getting ready to do that on March 1st. Again, the themes will have already shown up between January 28th and March 1st. We see Venus in contact with, she'll hit Neptune. She'll also have a contact with Mercury. So expect that communication may show up with some folks. There also seems to be a contact with Uranus as she turns retrograde and goes back to that 24th degree. She'll talk to Uranus. Let's just see if that communication is simultaneous. So there's Venus retrograde at the 29th degree. Yep. Okay. So guys, mark your calendars for around March 28th. That week, like maybe the week before, week after, 5 days before, five after. During that period of time, around March 28th, we do see that Uranus will make contact with both Mercury and the Venus Neptune conjunction here. It's like Venus, Neptune, and Mercury semi-sextile Uranus. And this could bring some surprising, unexpected communications, both in love or money for all of us, things that we just could not see coming. That's not good. It's not bad. Again, as our guest, our skin tarot mentioned, really how you face this is what it's going to be for you. But it does look like some level of something unexpected shows itself. Also, at this time, we will see Mercury, Neptune, and Venus retrograde in communication with Pluto. Transit Pluto will sextile these energies. Looks like, yeah, a sextile. And Pluto in a sextile to this combo here does speak to some level of empowerment, I want to say. Now, Pluto generally, yes, speaks to fear. Um, it can also speak to control and manipulation when we try to use our power over other people. But for the most part, it gives us the opportunity to step into empowerment through the process of facing a fear or facing something that makes us ashamed or enraged. And so I do see right around the end of March, beginning of April, some level of it could be frustration with regard to communication that does seem to show up. It does give us the opportunity because Chiron will connect with that Mercury. It's going to give us the opportunity to clean that up as we get further into the Venus retrograde. But be on the lookout for it. And those of you who have difficult communications to deliver this year, things that people may not be that excited to hear, use the skills you have in diplomacy and compassion to communicate both clearly. I'm not saying water down what you need to say what you need to say, but also do it in a way that can, you know, usher the other person into their next era with as much love as you can muster. Okay. So those, I wanted to really call attention to those contacts. Let's talk about Venus retrograde and work and money. So as I mentioned at the start, Venus retrograde, here, uh, March 1st will show itself when Venus goes retrograde in work for work and money matters. What we do tend to see is, as Dark Skin Tarot mentioned, some sort of contract work, temporary gig, project from the past come back on our plate. And so you may find that, and this can be a very tricky period of time for some. I've seen this occur in a few different ways for people, where if you have a job working in a company, a someone who works under you or above you could depart and you end up taking on their work temporarily, or someone new comes in and you end up going back to a role that you previously did, and it's like double work for a little bit of time. I've also seen where like a you go back to an organization that you used to work at for a short period. I've also seen it be where people get furloughed, or there's like temporarily no work and then the work comes back. So pay attention to that. If that, that might sort of unfold for you, it would be temporary. But in every moment where, let's say, we feel like we're getting pushed back, so like your boss says, I need you to do that, oh, I know you got promoted this year, but we need you to do the work you used to do. And you're like, but this isn't in my job description, this isn't in my title, like I got promoted out of this should be somebody else's job right now. You could approach it from that mindset, but what I've seen actually works better is if you take it on knowing that it's temporary because it's Venus retrograde, you excel at it, and you can even negotiate a little at the start of the retrograde around value and money. Like, okay, if you need me to take this on, what I'm gonna need is to work from home, get a raise, get paid a little bit more, um, take this or that off my plate, so let somebody else do it for a little while. Like there's options to negotiate, but if you can also excel at it, I've also seen people come out of Venus retrogrades and then get a raise or a promotion if they can strategize how to use this to their advantage. So that's an opportunity for those of you who work for somebody else. Now, for people who work for themselves, Venus retrogrades are periods of time where you may want to consider redoing a particular project in your business, relaunching a particular product or service from the past, bringing it back to make money that way. Revisit old or existing customers and clients to see, do they need services, support? Are there any add-on services you can bring to the table? This sort of thing to make additional money. For those who work for yourself, going back to existing clients and services, existing or past products or services, to offer them in present time during a retrograde is actually a better way to make money than to launch something completely new. It can actually really stall during a Venus retrograde. So keep that in mind as you're planning out your year ahead, utilizing these Venus retrograde dates. Okay. Also, in terms of money, just generally speaking, if there have been difficult or financially challenging situations, or just poor financial decision making, you can see that start to come up during a Venus retrograde. Paying the IRS back, paying loans back, needing to deal with credit and mortgages, these sort of things can all really show up during a Venus retrograde, demanding personalized attention or more direct attention to get your finances in order. So, wanted to make sure I said that. Darcy and Tarot, I think you might have some messages for us around the work stuff. Do you?
I do. So in the first half of our chat here, I was pulling the cards while you were talking, but this time I thought, just so that the audience can see, because I think it's important. I want to go off a couple of things that you said. You talked about Uranus, and it could be a time when we're returning to work and something about love. And what I want to do is there's this deck that I have, and it oftentimes will pinpoint an issue. So I think what I'd like to do is let two or three cards fall from here. I'll speak very high level to them, but these are the things that you should be looking out for, especially when you need to. I'm going to call it voicing up, right? You know how we talk about bossing up and getting your work grind on, but voicing up. And you spoke to us being able to voice what we need, right? So if your boss wants something extra from you, something you don't want to do, there's three ways that you can attack it. You can just take it, right? Or you can be hostile and mad about it, or you can be truthful and deep and show vulnerability in doing that. And why do I say that? It's funny that this is what's coming out now. I have a friend who has a job, right? And she's concerned about the behavior of the boss, but isn't sure what to do. And I said, well, you've got three options. You can either just take it, because a lot of people just take it, or you can be upset about it, or you can speak to her from a very true and authentic place. And I think this time in our work, as we're going through the retrograde, as Uranus is involved, um, we are putting things under a microscope, and we are assessing what does and doesn't work for us and what does and doesn't feel good. I think the days of us just putting up with things because we felt that we had to are, I don't want to say over, but over-ish. How about that? Over-ish, right? And so in this example, I said, what you can say to her is that you understand from her position that she might think that you were trying to usurp her authority, and that's not what it was, right? And that you were just trying to be helpful and bridge the gap. I think when we open up and we're honest, and we let people know that we see them in a gentle way. That's very important, especially in a retrograde, because you don't want to over communicate or misspeak. You are allowed to be honest and authentic. And I think in this point in time, it would be very much appreciated if we did that. And more importantly, because Venus ultimately is about love, it is a form of self love and self respect when you trust, honor, and speak up for yourself. And I think more people need to do that. That said, I'm hearing I need to pull this card, this one, and one more card, please, Scott. One more card. One more. This one. Okay. So if you look at this deck, this is gobbledygook. I have no idea what any of this means when I look at it, right? So supposedly this lady had these dreams, and this terminology, this meaning came to her, and the symbols to go with it. So we are going to go to the book. So for some of you, one of these might apply, two of these might apply, or all three of them could apply. But the intention here for you is when you're thinking about work or money, look out for these energies, whether it is this is a block for you, whether it is a block for another person, or an energy that is surrounding the situation. Okay. All right. So the first one is number 8. And number 8 means bypassing. Look at that. So I'm just going to pull out the highlights. It says bypassing or whitewashing is the act of using beliefs to avoid facing or healing one's painful feelings, unresolved wounds, and unmet needs. Okay. So there's some of that going on in your work life, in your financial life. So sometimes we can use our finances to overspend, or not spend properly, or we have too much debt, or we're not earning at our capacity or beyond, okay? It also is somehow linked to your own spiritual beliefs. I'm not talking about religion. I want to be really clear about that with you, okay? Some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself with this card are there certain beliefs that you're using to avoid pain or problems? Do you feel like the spiritual you is different from the embodied you? Isn't that something? And we just talked about like the importance of being authentic and honest and deep. And then also, are you using any beliefs or thought patterns that you have to justify an insecurity within yourself? So, where are you insecure about perhaps your job or your finances? And what steps can you take to alleviate that or improve it? For example, I just had a friend who called and asked me to be her open her bills buddy. I'm happy to do it because sometimes we don't want to deal with things, right? Sometimes we, as the card says, we bypass certain things. This one is bulldozing. Sometimes we bulldoze through things when we actually need to stop and take a moment, take time to figure out what's important. Like, what do we need to look at? It says here that if you pull this card, you are bulldozing a part of yourself in the situation, right? And it can oftentimes be due to trauma and fragmenting. So, where are you fragmenting yourself? Kay touched on doing more than you need to at work. Is this the job that you really want to do? Are these the things that you really want to do? Is there a way to perhaps propel, navigate, change, take on a special project, shadow someone so that you yourself are more aligned in your job? Because the truth of the matter is in this world, um, we cannot necessarily or do not necessarily get everything that we want at the time that we want it. We don't always have the coworkers we want, the man or the woman that we want, the finances that we want, the community, the body, what have you. But there are things that we can do. Again, it's like that previous part of the reading, bringing in our own justice by doing certain things. So it's a delicate balance between these two cards, knowing when to bulldoze through something and when not to. The last card here is 66. Can you see it? Is it in frame? I hope so. Okay, the last card here for you is 66, and 66 means, hold on, hold on, hold on. Ooh, conversion. It's saying that you're either being congratulated or warned, and that you've made a positive change on the mental. Look at this. Look how this flows. That you're making a positive change on mental and emotional level that is now converting physically and increasing your well-being. So look at that, Kate. Like, let's go back to our little preamble before we went on the live. I said I was earthy, and you're like airy. You're I can't even remember the phrase that I use, but we talked about the need to use this time to look at things from a different perspective, to look at it from a higher place, to be on that mountain peak and do a survey of your life. And do not be afraid to lift the corners. Lift every corner of the bed sheet, go into every corner of your house and sweep and take things out. You have to look at them. There may be some things for some of you, I'm just hearing I need to say, where there might be some trauma attached. Get help with it, right? There's no place for shame. You don't have to be ashamed or afraid. But conversion is underway, and it's a method that we use that helps to bring us from, I think, one state to another, right? So if you're in a place that you don't want to be, and if you're in a job that you don't want to be, the change is internal, first and foremost. The change is about first, identifying what the issue is, be it your finances or work. Second, what options are available to you. And third, take steps. And I have to say, it's so timely. Normally, when I go to bed, I will listen to a podcast or something. And I was listening to someone talking about what is the difference between people who are successful and not successful. And you know what they said? Speed of implementation. Speed of implementation. So, for those of you who actually want to see a change, and if you're guided by your spirit, your higher self to do something, assess it because sometimes we have to develop, is this my voice? Is this my ego? Is this a devil telling me to do something? Like, learn that first. But when you're given insight, idea, direction, it behooves you to move on it. That is part of your conversion. The conversion is you internally changing who you are, and then it shows up on the physical. It is the as above, so below. It is not so below, as above. Things flow from the spiritual to the natural. And that is what I love about this conversation today. Take over, Cam, done. And
Okay.
sorry.
Beautifully put. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we're going to leave it there. This has been a wonderful conversation today. I definitely appreciate you being here as our guest, Dark Skin Tarot. I'm so sorry we weren't able to set this up the way we had originally planned, but you can definitely share the link with your subscribers on your YouTube channel. And for those who are here from Dark Skin Tarot's YouTube channel, welcome. It is wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, you heard something that resonates, gives you a little bit of guidance of what to look out for and how to navigate this energy. It does look like, especially that end of March timeframe during the Venus retrograde, is a little intense before things smooth themselves out. But they do smooth themselves out in the fullness of time. So, gave you the key dates. They will also be in the description box, as will a link to Dark Skin Tarot's YouTube channel. And there'll also be a little gift over there in the community section for you guys, for first people who would like to get a reading with me before this Venus retrograde hits. There'll be a special gift over there in her YouTube channel for first timers, in her community section as well. All right, you guys, Dark Skin Tarot, thank you. It was a gift to be here with you. Appreciate you making the time.
Thank you so much. It was really lovely. And I'm glad and I hope that the viewers found that this was insightful and helpful to them moving through this next few months.
Link to Dark Skin Tarot's YouTube channel and where you can get readings with her will be also linked below this video. Thanks, everyone, and bye for now.